What's going on, guys? Tyler here, and I am sitting on my couch with a pillow. It's the pillow that came with the couch. And you know what? I just decided we're gonna have like these segments when I'm talking about different things where it's just gonna be me on the couch with the pillow. Sometimes a tea, if it wasn't like 3 o'clock in the morning right now. And we're just gonna talk about, different topics. In this case today, we're gonna be talking about transactional lending versus private money lending, and when you would use it, how you would use it, and that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much gonna rant and just give you guys as much as value as I can, and hopefully you guys like this. And if you do, we will continue to do it because this is easy to edit. All the other stuff is a pain in the butt with the computer and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, transactional lending versus private money. First of all, okay, they can sometimes be the same thing. Transactional lending versus private money is not really so much a difference in the money itself. It just depends on what it's being used for and who it's coming from. So transactional lending or transactional funds are used only during the closing of a deal. So therefore, a transaction, it would be no different than if I wanted a Red Bull, which I've had 2, which is probably why I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, and like 3 teas and a coffee. It's probably just gonna be an all-nighter. Nevertheless, if I were to ask my buddy to give me the $5 to buy 2 Red Bulls from the gas station, he handed me that money. I paid for it, and then immediately after the transaction, he received his money back from me. That is a transactional lending. He lent me $5, and as soon as I paid and I received it, somebody else gave him that $5, whether it was me or another friend of mine. I could just repeat that over and over and over. Not really. On a real estate transaction, you're gonna have a HUD 1, HUD 2. We'll go into the really specifics of this in a different video. I just want to really just cover the difference between the two. So transactional lending is strictly used for transactions. That transactional money, however, can come from anybody. Okay, it can come from your brother, it can come from your sister, it can come from your mother, your father. Doesn't really matter where that money comes from. The title company is going to put that person on the HUD if that's how you set it up. And there's going to be something called a promissory note that is written up between you and that person, stating that they're giving you that transactional money. Now you can also use businesses. So I know there's a big one out of Orlando. I don't remember their name. I don't really plan on plugging anybody, but look in your local area and just do some Google searches, and you want to be careful on where you accept money from and so on. Once again, another video. But there's companies out there that strictly lend you money for the transaction. Now let's cover a little bit about pricing of that money, okay? Because money is not free. You pay for money, but you can structure it in such a way to where the money that you never have to pay for a deal by using something like transactional lending, meaning you don't have to have any money out of pocket. So you can use that company's money to close on a deal and then immediately have somebody else buy it from you, sometimes same day. Transactional lending doesn't necessarily have to be same day. It just depends on the company and their stipulations, but you would want it to be same day. So what that means is that they're going to lend you, let's just say $50,000 for the transaction, and they might require 1 point. A point is equivalent to a percentage. They might require 1 point plus also 3% APR or 3% on transaction. It can differ, right? So it's not going to be an APR. An APR wouldn't make any sense on a transactional fund. I don't even know why I just mentioned that, but nevertheless, so if it's $50,000, they're going to charge you 1 point and then maybe a percentage, or it's just going to differ. But what that means is that they gave you $50,000 when you sell that property. So if you're closing on a property for $50,000, okay, you bought it from the seller for $50,000, you're gonna sell it to the next person for $60,000. you're going to be giving back to the person that gave you that $50,000 probably another 1%, 2%, 3%. So they're going to probably receive potentially $53,000 back, and you're going to receive, $7,000 from the deal. Okay, that's transactional lending, and the basis of it is you're going to use it whenever you want to double close. You can use it for various different reasons, but that's the most common reason for wholesaling, is in order for you to kind of close on a deal. Generally, it's used with widespread. So if I'm going to make $30,000 on the deal, and I don't want my end buyer to see that I'm making $30,000, or I don't want the seller to see that I'm wholesaling, I'm legitimately buying the property. I will take over that title for a split period of time, and then it will, the same day, someone else will take over that title and deed. So that's transactional lending, and it can come from a private money. I use private money all the time for transactional lending, as well as I've actually never used a company for it. I've only ever used private money for transactional lending. It's a little bit more expensive, but I like to help out the other fellow flippers around the area, because if we can reutilize our money in different places with each other, in the end we all win. So that is transactional lending. Private money is pretty straightforward. Just like private money can be used for transactional lending, it can also be used for flips. I've never used a company for a flip. I've never used a hard money lender. I've set up hard money lenders for my buyers for my wholesale deals. I've helped them through that process, and that's all a lot of the people that I sell my properties to or sell my contracts to, rather, that's all they use is hard money. But I'm fortunate enough to know some people that are other flippers that love to reutilize their money. So like I said, we keep it in our network for our private money. Essentially what happens is, say I have a deal that is $60,000 purchase price, or it's $40,000 purchase price, $10,000 rehab. It really doesn't matter how you set it up. You can set it up to where they buy the property, plus they're going to fund you for the flip. They could just fund you a whole amount, like dollar amount. You could say, hey, I want to borrow 100 grand, and I'll pay you 15% APR and 2 points for the first 6 months. And if I go over 6 months, I'll give you another 2 points. Or, the stipulations are going to change, and I'm not going to cover in this video stipulations, because it's really going to depend on the person you're borrowing the money from. They're going to set those stipulations for you. Some of your people, when you first start out, to build trust, you might pay them more, but as you use their money more, they're going to charge you less for their money. But essentially, you're going to set up a promissory note with that person stating the stipulation, how much money you're borrowing and how much money, or how long the term is for that. So to give you an example of how I've used private money to be really strategic, you can actually utilize that money in any way, because you're going to receive that, whatever that value is. So if I received $100,000 and my purchase price on the property is $50,000 and I need to put $15,000 into it, so I have a total investment of $65,000 that I have to get the property upkept with. Let's just say that I have 10% APR. That means that when I close on that property, I'm gonna have to give back that $65,000, or really the whole $100,000 in the end, or however much I borrowed, plus that percentage on that money. But because I borrowed this much and I'm only using this much, that extra difference in between it all, I can use that for other deals. So I can actually leverage that money in many different ways. Now, it really depends on what the promissory note says and who your investor is. Sometimes private money lenders want to have their name on the title, and just a bunch of other stuff, different stipulations. It really just depends on your relationship with that private money lender. There's big private money lenders out there. There's, anybody can be a private money lender. Like I said, with the transactional funding, it could be somebody that down the street. It could be a previous coworker. Anybody can lend you money. Okay, I know people that have 10,000 here, 10,000 there, and we basically, when I have something that's going on, I say, hey, everybody, we have a project. If everybody brings in this amount, this is the rates. If you want to, invest, you can. And that's basically called, crowdfunding or raising capital. So I think that's a pretty good explanation between private money and transactional funding. Hopefully that helped you guys out. If you have any questions, please leave in the comments below. Don't overcomplicate it. As these things come, you will learn what you need to learn to accomplish the deal. Okay, always forefront the making sure that obviously you're legally sound. I am not an attorney, by the way. So anything I say, you should probably consult your attorney about. And also your CPA. I am not a certified CPA. So essentially all I'm trying to tell you is that don't overcomplicate it. Just move on with the deal, press forward, and learn from somebody else. Okay, if you know that the person that you're getting private money from has done this before, be transparent and let them know that, hey, I've never done this before. As far as lending from a private party, how do you like your promissory notes? If you feel uncomfortable, first of all, don't ask somebody for private money if you feel uncomfortable asking them to teach you how to do it. So I think that's pretty much good. Hopefully this helped you guys. Give it a thumbs up if this was good for you. Subscribe if you felt like it was super awesome. If you think that this is a kind of a cool, chill thing to do, I think it is. I'm comfortable and I love teaching. So once again, hopefully this was valuable, and I am going to go ahead and edit this now. So see you guys soon in the next video or something. I don't know.